So AOC absolutely roasted Laura Ingraham of Fox News and all of her other haters who don't like the fact that she didn't wear a burlap sack for her Vanity Fair photo shoot and interview. We covered the interview yesterday and all of the good substantive things AOC said, but everyone seemed to be focusing on the fact that she wore very fancy clothes for her magazine photo shoot. And some people went around and basically calculated that she was wearing about $14,000 worth of clothes when you added up all the various shots and outfits. And Laura Ingraham was very unhappy about this, the Fox News host. She says, AOC appears in Vanity Fair in outfits worth $14,000 to curse out Trump. And she's sharing a Fox News article on this supposed travesty. And this was part of a general trend of a lot of people saying, oh my God, AOC, the socialist, just like Bernie, wants you to be poor and unhappy while they live in multiple houses and they wear designer clothes and they eat at the finest restaurants, and basically they want luxury for themselves and poverty for everybody else. And that the left are a bunch of hypocrites for criticizing the rich and wealthy and well-connected while trying to be like them in their own personal lives. But the fact of the matter is, AOC didn't get to keep the clothes, and this goes back to a couple key themes. One, conservatives will never let anyone criticize inequality and capitalism, either because they're too rich or they're too poor, and conservatives hate AOC for a bunch of reasons. But crucial among them all is she has fun, and that drives them absolutely insane. So I want to read you AOC's response to Ingraham and to the general group of conservative haters when she says, 100% worth it, would do it again, in response to Ingraham's tweet. And then she says, and I don't know if you've been in a photo shoot, Laura, but you don't get to keep the clothes. And finally she says, the whole, quote, she wore clothes in a magazine, let's pretend they're hers gimmick is the classic Republican strategy of, quote, let's willfully act stupid, and if the public doesn't take our performative stupidity seriously, then we'll claim bias. And she's basically like, you guys gotta cut it out, and the media has to cut it out. Like, no one's buying your shtick anymore, Laura. And AOC is 100% right there. She doesn't get to keep the clothes. She's wearing these clothes that are sort of provided to her by Vanity Fair, and, I don't know if Vanity Fair buys them, or maybe they borrow them from the designers, and the designers get, some promotion, and because they get AOC in them, and then they get to see them in this big fancy magazine. But AOC did not buy these clothes. AOC does not own these clothes. They are loaned to her for the photo shoot. AOC isn't a wealthy woman. She's not even in the 1%. I don't know if AOC could afford these clothes. Certainly not all of them. I don't know if AOC has enough money to spend $14,000 on, one series of outfits. She doesn't make that much money. The point, however, is for Republicans, you're always going to be called out for calling out inequality. Russell Brand, I know that he kind of did a set on this, or put out a statement on this before, where he said, when I was poor and I complained about inequality and I complained about capitalism, everyone called me jealous and petty. And now that I'm a successful person, quote unquote, and I have lots of money, when I complain about inequality, they call me a hypocrite. It seems like they just don't want me to talk about capitalism's fundamental injustices, and it's not actually about me being a hypocrite or jealous. And that's the thing with AOC and with Bernie. There's this whole narrative that when they were poor, before they had success, they were losers and failures, and they were only complaining about the success of others because they were jealous. So whether it was Bernie the carpenter or AOC the bartender, they had no right to criticize their betters. But now that they found some success, where Bernie owns 3 modest homes, including one of them basically being a shed in the wilderness, and AOC was in a photo shoot wearing some nice clothes, now they're not allowed to ever talk about inequality again because they have some modicum of wealth, or at least, upper middle class, markers of privilege. And it's absurd. It's absurd. There are fundamental injustices of inequality, and while I think it's important that the people most affected by it have a voice in that fight, it doesn't take someone to be poor to recognize that there's injustice in being poor. And we should also note this, that there's no actual income conservatives will ever tolerate to where you can actually criticize inequality. You're always going to somehow either be too poor or too rich. No one, even if you make the literal average or median income in the United States, they would still say you're either too poor and therefore jealous, or you're too rich and therefore hypocritical. They just don't want you talking about inequality. We should also remember this, guys, that while they attack AOC for borrowing, $14,000 of clothes, they have an administration with a president that pays $750 in taxes, but's paid tens of thousands of dollars in recent years on his hair alone. That's Donald Trump. No one scrutinizes the wardrobe choices of the Trump family or of Republican women senators or of male senators and congressmen of either party most of the time, let's be honest. It's exclusively something that seems to be targeted to women on the left. No one talks about how Donald Trump is hypocritical because he likes to pretend he stands for the working class people while he lives in a solid gold mansion. No one talks about how it's hypocritical at Fox News about how Ivanka Trump says that she understands the struggle of regular people when she's never had to actually earn anything in her life. No one talks about that. That's fine. But a working class Latina woman from Brooklyn, talking about inequality after she starts making, in the relatively low six figures, now it's a national travesty. Absurd. And again, what this is all about is AOC has fun and it freaks conservatives out. Because again, I've talked about this in my video when AOC did the Among Us Twitch stream. Conservatives have this certain narrative that the left is a no fun space, that the left does not want you to have fun, that simultaneously the left is full of degenerates, but also we're stuffy and elitist and PC and we want to ruin your video games and your hobbies and this and that, and we're just no fun to be around. You want to chill and have a good time? Hang out with conservatives. We're the new punk. We'll let you do what you want to do. Actually, though, AOC every day in her day-to-day life shows that you can be a principled progressive, really a principled democratic socialist, and fight for the values that matter and be very serious, but also take fun photo shoots and play video games and chat with your supporters and have a good time. That's why she's such a threat to them. AOC did nothing wrong with her Vanity Fair photo shoot, and I want her to continue every day freaking conservatives the hell out.